Hello everybody, let's get started with a tutorial here on how to lay out a cabinet with the Whitehaven, a Kohler Whitehaven sink, just like the one you see right here. Alright, so let's get started. First thing you want to do is pull up most likely the product number. I went to Kohler's website and actually pulled this one up here. And you can go down here. They usually have some pretty good specs, so dimensions and measurements. So open that thing up and we can go through here and find the information that we need. So let's do that. So I'm going to highlight the information that I think is going to be useful on this one. And the biggest one you want to really look at is a few different specs here. So there's this one. It's 8 and 3/13/16. That's the height of the apron on the front. Okay, so that's basically the front piece that's on the cabinet. I'm sorry, on the sink itself. This one also has an actual overall height. So that's basically from the support structure. Let me get a little hand here. So it's basically from this point here to the top of the sink. And basically same thing here. So these things would have to sit on some sort of a deck, and if you draw a line, actually let's just draw a box here. So let's just say that our cabinet deck is something like this. Notice that, see if I can zoom in on that for you. Okay, so notice that, let's just say this is our cabinet deck, and we're going to be using the farm sink cabinet. There's going to be a gap right here, and we're going to have to take care of that somehow, because obviously this sink is set up for more of a face frame style of cabinet. Not to say that you can't do anything here with it. In fact, this is a pretty easy thing to fix. So let's get started. Where was I? Okay, so we were looking at the height. So the apron, or the overall height of the sink, is 9 5/8. This is really important, so let's keep this information right here in mind. Next thing we want to look at is the depth, and this is not so much important because your cabinet's probably going to be 24 inches deep, and you'll have plenty of room for it. These sinks are all designed for 24-inch sink, or 24-inch base cabinets. So 9 5/16. That's basically from the lip of the apron, which is this piece right here, to the back of the sink. Now obviously our cabinet's going to be deeper than that, so we don't really need to worry. We got extra room here for faucets and stuff sticking out of the countertop for an undermount application. Okay, and that is pretty much it. All the other stuff that you look at here, like the drain holes and stuff like that, is all going to be included in our cabinet. So let's pull up our stuff here. Let's go to barkercabinets.com, and the website's a little slow today, so wait for that. Okay, there we go. So pull up the sink cabinets, and we're going to be looking at a farm sink base cabinet, or an apron front sink base cabinet. Kind of the same idea. Let's open this one up. And as you see here, we have a couple of different things we need to look at. The most important is going to be the opening height. It's this guy right there. Next, the most important thing is going to be the opening width. So let's start with the opening width. Let's pull up our specs again. And the opening width is going to be basically this dimension right here. And that's basically the width of the sink itself, not the front of the sink, because that's going to cover, or that's going to go into the side, into the face of the cabinet on the left and the right side. So it's 28 inches. Now, you can order this cabinet at 29.5. Notice how these end pieces right here, they stick up. Those are 3/4 of an inch wide on each side. So obviously you take the opening width that's needed, which was 28 from those specs, and then you add 1.5 inches, so 3/4 on this side and 3/4 on this side. So technically you could get by with a 29.5-inch wide cabinet and then putting that sink into it. Now, that's cutting it close, and when they manufacture sinks, they're not as precise as, say, like our cabinets are going to be. Our cabinets are going to be very, very dead on. So I might recommend ordering this cabinet at a width of 30 inches. Now the reason I'm ordering at 30 inches is because we want a little bit of extra play on the left and the right side of the sink. So if we open this thing up, we want a little bit of play right here between the sink and the cabinet side, and a little bit of play over here. Now if we look at the specs again from the top view, let's take a look here. Zoom in on this piece right here. You notice that this actually overlays the face of the cabinet. So if we do decrease it by 1/2 inch, you know, our cabinet side is really going to be right about here. So it's going to look something like this. Notice we have a nice little gap right there. Move the sink to the left and the right, get it all centered, and you're dead on. Okay, so 30 inches is the width I would order this cabinet at. And we've already plugged that in. Let's go back here, get rid of this. So I added 30 inches to the width. The height, most likely it's going to be their standard base height at 34.5. Now your depth is 24 inches. Now I've seen people order either 24 or 26. If you want to step the sink out, in a cabinet run. Basically have it 2 inches deeper than the cabinets on the left and the right side. It looks kind of cool. It's been pretty popular in the last decade or so to step out the sink base cabinets. In some cases, we've actually seen where the sink base cabinet would be like a painted glaze, like a painted white with a glaze on it. And then basically the rest of the cabinets would be like a clear coat cherry. So you have that kind of transition, and usually what they'll do is they'll try to match up the sink base cabinet with like the island, and those would be kind of the accent pieces that kind of tie the kitchen together, and I think that's kind of cool, but that is another tutorial altogether, so I'll stop going off topic here. Okay, so back to it. We're going to look at the height. So we need to figure out the opening height. Now, the opening height is going to be 9 5/8, roughly. And what we're going to look at here is opening height. Now, we have 1/4 inch increments, so 9 5/8. Where is it? So you could go 9.75 inches is what I would recommend. You always round up. Now, it's only an 1/8 of an inch difference. So worst case scenario, you're going to want to shim up that sink just a little bit. You want a little bit of extra space. It's not required. Technically, you could use a mallet and knock these things up or down by about a 1/16 of an inch if you really needed to. But just ordered at 9 3/4 for the opening height. That's pretty easy. And we already know the opening width and the opening depth. That's all pretty easy. Okay, so obviously the rest of this stuff is all up to you. Shaker and set panel, paint grade. I mean, you can choose whatever you want that works for you. Okay, so that's pretty much the opening, the sink cabinet that we'd order here. Now let's add this one to the cart so we have the dimensions in there. And then let's go through, and as a little bonus here, let's open up Cabinet Vision and let's do this thing in real terms here. I'm going to open up a farm sink base cabinet. I think we came up with a width of 30 inches. Height's 34.5. Depth is 24. I'm going to do this pretty quick so you don't really need to follow along on this. The opening height was 9 3/4. And I'm just going to measure this thing out to make sure I got it right. 9 3/4, yes. Good. Perfect. Okay, so I'm going to just mark this thing out just as a little bit of, just to make it more clear. All right, so that's basically what it's going to look like. Right there. This is a real rudimentary sketch of the cabinet itself. Let's just color this one in real quick. Okay, so colored in, basically what we're looking at, and this is not an actual Kohler model of sink CAD view. This is just it's a copy, it's a roll, but that's just for this is for planning purposes. So I'm going to kind of show you a few of the things we looked at here. Number one, the apron. As you notice right here, if you can it's hard to zoom in here, but if you can see right here, it actually the apron dies off into the face of the cabinet, leaving a little bit of space right there, and it looks that'll look nice once it's all installed. So. Another thing we had was the sink itself had a little bit of gap here, so you can move the sink this way or this way and get it all dialed in and lined up. The one thing I did want to take a look at here, which was one of the other questions, is the fact that our opening height is 9 3/4. Now, the sink apron itself is 8 13/16. If you notice there, let's take a look back at the specs. And let's see, where's that? There you go. Notice here, 9 5/8 is the height from the top of the sink to the bottom of the support pieces. You can see here. So from the top of the sink to the bottom of the legs, basically. Now there is a gap here. The sink apron is 8 13/16 to 9 5/8. So basically that's 13/16 almost of extra space we're going to need to cover somehow down here. Now, there's a couple of ways you can do it. Number one, you can basically order a trim piece, like some scribe molding or something like that. That might work for underneath of the sink. Another option is to order a filler at the width of your opening. So if your opening is, I think we're ordering this cabinet at 30 inches, so you could order a 28.5 inch wide filler. And the fillers are basically located here. You might order it a little bit wider, say order it at 29 and then cut it so that it scribes in on site. So the idea here is to order a 2 inch wide by say 29 filler. And what you do here is the filler, you can turn it on its side and essentially make it so that you can cover up the gap. Because if you look at the drawings here, you can notice that there's a bit of a gap from this point here to there. There's vertical 15/16. of gaps. So this is going to be exposed underneath here. So you need to figure out a way to mask this gap. Now, unfortunately, for framed cabinets, it looks like this Kohler sink was put together for a framed cabinet. There's really no other way to do it besides using a filler in this case, because we don't have a piece that just sticks right up straight from the top. So that's pretty much it. So you'd have a filler. We already figured out our cabinet dimensions. Everything else is all set up. Now if you take a look at one other thing that I wanted to kind of touch on here is the fact that we do have these this center area cut out already. And that's basically set up for a variety of different drain holes. And basically this allows your plumber to get in here and install the drain in your sink. And this will work with the Kohler as well. So we did go through this and make it a little bit easier for you. If you have any questions, feel free to give us an email or call back, and we'll talk to you soon. Thanks again. Have a great day.